The last act of Resident Evil Village throws wave after wave of backstory and action at players, making certain events difficult to untangle. That said, we're taking a look at the game's twisty ending, as well as what fans think may happen in the next game. When Chris enters Mother Miranda's lab near the end of the village, he finds Ethan's wife Mia trapped in a cage, scared and alone.
Damn, it really is you.
She reveals that Miranda kept her trapped and performed experiments on her. More importantly, Mia shares that Ethan is special, though she doesn't say why. Instead, players have to discover that on their own. Before Village released, fans speculated that Mia and Ethan hadn't been cured from their mold exposure in Resident Evil 7. That would mean that their daughter Rosemary was also infected with the mold, potentially granting her unnatural abilities. Rosemary's powers haven't necessarily been confirmed or denied, but Mia was clearly of scientific interest to Mother Miranda. Considering that Miranda has dedicated her life to studying the megamycete, the progenitor of the mold, it would make sense that her interest in Mia was also somehow related to her mission to bring back her daughter, Ava. As far as players know, Mia ends up safe at the end of Resident Evil 8, freed from her prison and able to raise Rosemary. Though the plot of Village doesn't necessarily follow Mia after her escape from Mother Miranda's lab, it seems that she exits the game relatively unscathed, but still mold-infected. Chris Redfield, the boulder-punching hero of many Resident Evil games, got an unfair rap leading up to the release of Village. Promotional materials, like the several trailers Capcom released, portrayed Chris as a villain, apparently shooting Mia without remorse and leaving Ethan confused in his wake.
Chris? What the hell?
Sorry, Ethan.
No! What? Why?
However, all of that was nothing more than Capcom's effort to misdirect fans into believing Chris had turned evil or was a victim of mind control. Instead, Chris revealed late in the game that he had attempted to assassinate Mother Miranda, who had used her shape-shifting powers in order to infiltrate the Winters' home and steal Rosemary. Chris Redfield begins and ends Resident Evil Village trying to destroy the massive ball of mold writhing underneath the European village. Eventually, Chris plants a bomb on the fetus-shaped wad of black vines, leading up to the climactic explosion that ends a mold that plagued Resident Evil 7 and 8. Well, maybe. Only Resident Evil 9 can answer that for certain. Chris investigates Mother Miranda's lab, which serves as a lore dump for many characters in the game, including the Four Lords. Records and classified documents describe how the Lords were made and what their weaknesses were. At this point, Ethan has disposed of Lady Dimitrescu, Donna Beneviento, Salvatore Moreau, and Karl Heisenberg. However, seeing how each of them turned out to be imperfect vessels for Ava highlights just how far Miranda went in order to bring her daughter back. Every Lord contained a parasitic cadeau, a small creature that helped Miranda implant the mold into other vessels. The cadeau had a different effect on each Lord, granting them various powers. Players also discover Miranda's ties to other Resident Evil games upon visiting her lab. Documents reveal that Oswald Spencer, one of the founders of the zombie-creating Umbrella Corporation, was a medical student who worked with Miranda years ago. His experiences with Miranda inspired Spencer to continue researching how to infect one living individual with another, thereby forcing them into the next stage of human evolution.
I was to become a god. Creating a new world with an advanced race of human beings.
Resident Evil 8 connects the plots of Biohazard and Village to the rest of the series in a way fans didn't see coming. Miranda is, in part, responsible for the Umbrella Corporation's existence, and she inspired an entire cottage industry of bioweapon research. First of all, nothing good happened to Ethan Winters in Resident Evil 8. If you thought he deserved a nice ending or some sort of redemption, you'll need to find a nice fanfiction that rewrites history. Ethan Winters has an absolutely horrible time in Village, even though he ends the game as a hero. The first thing that happens when Ethan enters the village is that he gets his hand partially bitten off. Things only get worse from there. Ethan appears to die at the beginning of the final act of Village, and players abruptly switch to Chris Redfield's perspective. For a short while, Ethan seems to be truly dead, but of course, Mia eventually reveals that there's something special about Ethan. It turns out that Ethan is special because he's not alive, and he hasn't been for the better part of 3 years. In fact, Ethan was actually killed by Jack Baker during the events of Resident Evil 7. Since then, Ethan's body has been puppeted by the mold, connecting him to the megamycete in ways he never asked for.
You were always dead.
What are you saying? I can still...
After Mother Miranda rips his heart out, Ethan wakes up and confronts a hallucination of Evelyn Baker, who tells him of his fate. Even though Ethan doesn't want to accept the truth, he continues through and eventually volunteers to detonate Chris's bomb, killing himself in the process. Chris and his team reveal the Megamycete to be connected to Evelyn, the bioweapon responsible for the Dolby incident in Resident Evil 7. While the Megamycete growing beneath the village doesn't have quite the same sort of genetic coding Evelyn did, it's made out of the same material, a fungus that has miraculous regenerative properties. Chris plants a bomb on the Megamycete before heading into Miranda's lab, but the explosive doesn't come into play until later in the game. After Chris begins to usher a badly hurt Ethan away from the village, Ethan volunteers to stay behind and see the bomb through. Before he returns to the Megamycete, Ethan gives his jacket and Rosemary to Chris.
Watch over her. Teach her to be strong.
The Megamycete does explode, as players see from afar. But as the old saying goes, you shouldn't believe anyone or anything is dead until you see a body. The Megamycete could live on through samples, other bioweapons, or just plain old determination. When the Megamycete and the bomb attached to it exploded at the end of Resident Evil Village, it seemed that there was no hope for Ethan Winters. However, some astute fans, with the help of a mod, discovered that Ethan actually appears at the end of the game. As Rosemary rides away in an unmarked car, ready to continue on with whatever job she has been working and using her abilities, a man appears in the distance and walks towards the car. Players with a modded photo mode zoomed in on the man and discovered it was the full character model for Ethan, complete with his cut-up left hand. Fans have speculated that while Ethan might be in future Resident Evil games, he probably won't appear as a playable character. After all, the game mentions that the father's story has ended, and now it seems that Rosemary gets to take center stage. Still, Ethan might play a role in future games, even if he isn't the same as he was when Rose last saw him. Could something stranger have happened as Ethan and the Megamycete endured the bomb's blast? Knowing Resident Evil, it's entirely possible. Players will likely have to wait for Resident Evil 9 to find out anything for sure. The Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, known as the BSAA for short, plays a small but significant part in the final act of Resident Evil Village. As Chris and his Blue Umbrella team journey into the heart of the village, they see BSAA operatives descending in the distance, headed towards the same target. After the Megamycete explodes in the distance, one of Chris's agents says,
"Captain, you need to see this. BSAA didn't send soldiers. This is a bioweapon."
The agent then shows Chris a corpse of a hairless man with mottled grey skin, similar to the kinds of creatures Chris and co have fought in previous Resident Evil games. Since the BSAA is supposed to find and stop bioweapons and all sorts of bioterrorism, their choice to send a bioweapon into the field seems suspect at best. Thankfully, Ethan's quest to save his daughter Rosemary is successful. Rosemary lives, safely whisked away by Chris to live and grow into young adulthood. In a post-credit scene, the final moments of Resident Evil Village shows a now teenage Rosemary visiting her father's grave, bringing flowers to him and wishing him a happy birthday.
Sorry I missed last week. I have a lot of tests coming up. You know how it is.
It's important to remember that Rose went through a lot during Resident Evil Village 2. While she may not have suffered as much as Ethan did perhaps, she did get split into 4 pieces and stored in flasks, only to be merged back together in the game's finale. Her survival of that ordeal alone means that Rosemary possesses superhuman abilities. Some gamers have theories on how Rose will feature in future Resident Evil games. It's possible her powers will manifest as part of the next game's mechanics. Rosemary also potentially contains the memories of many individuals because of her connection to the Megamycete, which could allow her to obtain information she wouldn't otherwise have. There are nearly limitless possibilities for how Rosemary's powers will manifest in Resident Evil 9, but fans will probably have to wait quite a while to learn more.
I can show you things even Chris doesn't know I can do.
Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more SVG videos about your favorite things are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.